Pat Malacaro joining us on the Western Hotline. The Sabres in Montreal last night. They beat the Canadiens, and we're talking about it with Pat. Pat, good morning. How are you today?
Doing great. It was quite the game last night for the Sabres. When you look back at it, just look at some of the stats from last night's game. That's that bend but don't break type of game, and now you've won 2 in a row against this Montreal team. So it was exciting that night last night.
Yeah, and we've talked about it. We spent a good chunk on the opening hour talking about the way they play these days and how they're fast, they are rolling lines, they are getting out to leads. It's kind of a formula they've got right now where they get out to a lead and then give a couple back and finish the job. And I wonder how sustainable Lindy Ruff, how sustainable they think that is, because they might like 75% of their game and also want to get like the giving up of goals and leads, at least not fully, but they might want to get that out somehow.
Yeah, I think Jason Zucker put it quite well in the post game. Yeah, yes, you win the game. The trend a couple of games ago, about a week or two ago, was the third period was the period that they were being pressed the most by their opponent. They get out to a lead, and they're not able to sustain it. They give up a couple goals in the third, and you lose. Now it's kind of the second period. You saw it against Nashville 2 games ago. You go with a 2-goal lead in the third period, you hold on. So I think it's not sustainable, but when you've got someone like Ukko-Pekka-Luukkonen playing the way he is, and even the way the Sabres block shots in that third period, you cut down on the shots on goal a little bit. Lindy Ruff felt that the team didn't play as poorly. They kind of picked up their game and found their game in that third. So I think even though it's not sustainable, the encouraging part is you're seeing signs that it doesn't go from a 3-2 lead to a 5-3 loss, which we've seen so many times in the past. They're finding ways to calm the waters enough in these third periods now to win these games.
Pat Malacaro with us on the Western Hotline. Pat, the kid line in the last couple of games, they got another goal last night. Their overall play maybe was a little bit shaky, like once you got to the second period a couple games ago, but man, they look fast and impressive right now.
Yeah, and even Consta-Helenius had hit the post or out the outside of the net with a shot yesterday, so they're playing well. And Jarmo Kekalainen talked about that pregame yesterday when he met the media to talk about the contract extension for Josh Dunne. And the credit, a lot of this goes to the coaching staff in Rochester. For how many years were we sitting here, talking about, when is the crop of prospects going to make an impact in Buffalo? Could they be a part of the depth that this team needs? The Sabres doing this without Josh Norris right now. They've been doing it without players in the lineup. Right now Jacob Bryson goes down with an injury. So on the defensive side of things, they'll be needing to test their depth a little bit more. Michael Kesselring comes back last night. So you're seeing players step up in different situations. And now that kid line, with Helenius' night the other night, what Noah Ostlund has done pretty much this season. Yuri Kulik hasn't played virtually at all this year. So you've got a lot of players that have either contributed or are potentially able to contribute when they come back from injured reserve at some point, hopefully this season. That now you're starting to see signs that development is happening down in Rochester, and that happens in different timelines for everybody. We know that. But I think the staff in Rochester is doing a good job of getting the players ready so that when something happens here in Buffalo, you're able to step up and not be a fish out of water and not be able to contribute.
Pat, the wins keep coming for the Sabres. They're on a great little run here. And another, what feels like a win, the contract extension for Josh Dunne, who has showed up and been very impressive. And Jarmo Kekalainen kind of strikes with his first move. You had a chance to hear from the GM and also speak with Dunne. I feel like I want to ask, what did they identify about him that was worth keeping him in the core? But any Sabres fan that's watched could see it all. It's pretty much all there. What did Jarmo have to say about it?
It was the off-the-ice stuff that really impressed me the most, and maybe the most enlightening part of what Jarmo talked about was, the putting in the work and putting the effort fans see on the ice, but it's the off-the-ice stuff that maybe he's developing into. He's worked his way into kind of that core group of guys by just the way he goes and plays and prepares for games and gets ready for action. So Jarmo talked about how other players are seeing that and other players are responding to that. Maybe some of the younger players. Dunne isn't old per se. He's doesn't have a ton of NHL experience, but he has enough. And some of the younger players are seeing that and seeing what it takes to go out there and win games and can go out there and make a play or just put the work in, put the effort in. So I think that's maybe the big thing for Dunne is, he's a player that, maybe wasn't the first thought when he was traded to Buffalo for J.J. Peterka. It was a lot about Michael Kesselring, but we know this trade would not have happened without Dunne being part of it from Utah at the time. So, he was identified as a player that could make an impact here, and he really is doing that in more ways than just the 15 goals this season and being a player that's hard to play against and doesn't really, yes, he made a mistake yesterday that turned into a goal for Montreal, but those type of situations are fewer than they are, creeping into the game all the time.
That's definitely been the thing, though, right, Pat? Because when they traded for him, remember the embedded piece or Beyond Blue and Gold the Sabres did when Kevin Adams was talking to the Utah GM, and the Utah GM originally did not want to put Dunne in the deal, and eventually they were willing to. I mean, part of that, I think, was everyone knew he was a hard worker that was going to give 100% on the ice and was good defensively and physical, right? Like that was, I think we knew that, and no one really knew if he had more to give offensively. And I mean, it's going to triple his career highs by the end of the year at this rate?
Yeah, and it's the much-needed offense. Like maybe one of my bigger questions going into the season would have been, how do you replace the offense? Not only that you lose from J.J. Peterka, which I understand that you may have gained more, in a lot of cases where than the lack of defense from Peterka, but really you go back to the last couple of seasons. How do you replace all the offense the Sabres have moved off the roster? And certainly Dunne is doing that. Another thing I wouldn't discredit, and maybe it comes from my baseball background, working with the Bisons as part of the Blue Jays affiliation. You had Vladimir Guerrero Jr., you had Kevin Biggio, you had Bo Bichette. You had three players at any point with the Blue Jays that had a family pedigree in baseball and even Hall of Fame family pedigree. And I think, another thing Jarmo talked about was the fact that he comes from a hockey family and a good hockey family. It's Lindy Ruff knows Shane Doan from his time working with Hockey Canada in the international game. Shane Doan was a well-respected player in the league, 1,500 games, 21 years in the league. So I think there's something to growing up around the game, learning the game from his father, who played the game, quote, the right way, who has had a really long and respected NHL career. And I think it doesn't happen in every case. It's not a guarantee, but I think that is something that really Dunne has learned from. He's been able to, it's rubbed off on him from his father's experience. And I think that should be something that goes in the conversation of why he maybe plays the right way.
Pat Malacaro on the Western Hotline. Pat, thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Next up for the Sabres, tomorrow afternoon against the Islanders. 803-0550 and 1-888-552-550. Sabres win, and 17-3-1 in their last 21 games.
They'll play Montreal again next Saturday, by the way.
Go for the full sweep. Beat them twice already.
You match them between now and then, and you can win and pass them.
Not bad.